What's good, my menace society? It is your host with the most, Shadow Loke, back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, what we wanted to discuss today was actually about something that's trending right now, right? An influencer, used to be an influencer, by the name of Lilly Gaddis, right? She is a Caucasian woman, right? Who used to have a TikTok, and apparently on her TikTok she would just make videos of her cooking, right? Like just recipes and cooking, meals and just videos like that, right? While having conversations. And in one of the videos that she was talking about, she uses the N word, right? She didn't use it at the time. She didn't use it like as in she was trying to like rowdy up the people, right? She said it in the manner, with the A, not the ER, right? That doesn't make it any better, but I'm getting to it, right? So she said it like, I guess, almost in a playful manner. She didn't expect the internet to react like this because she said it with the A, and in the sense that not a funny joke, right? But obviously she was amused, right? So she got a bunch of backlash, and she ended up getting fired from her real job where she worked as somewhere as an insurance or healthcare or some shit like that, right? She ended up getting fired from her job, and her TikTok ended up getting banned and all of that, right? And this is where I feel like she became a gimmick. The reason I say this is where she became a gimmick is because since she lost her job and, whatever, she was now actually upset, right? Really mad now. And she blames the black people because of this, right? Because how they did an uproar and because of her uproar, she felt like that's the reason why she lost her job and the TikTok and etc. Right? So now she's targeting them. Now she really, if she felt that animosity before, right now it really amped it up, and she didn't apologize. She actually came out and expressed, why she feels the way she feels, right? Um, and after that is when, it literally became a gimmick, right? Once she started seeing that she actually started getting support and views, and even though the views were coming because, people couldn't believe or um, couldn't understand that, how this woman could be so racist and non-caring about it, truly baffled individuals, right? And now there's a lot of people that speak on this topic but don't really know the full story of the thing, right? But thanks to my subscribers, they actually send me, videos, and not just audio. I mean, visual, no AI, like actual videos of her. She has a podcast where she's actually reacting to certain videos that are on the internet, right? Normally, they're videos by black individuals speaking on their side of politics and how they view governments and stuff like that, right? And she's giving her opinion, about what they're saying, right? And she's being very, 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 very racist, very, um, to the point where it doesn't come off as authentic, like it doesn't come off like if she's actually racist. It comes off like she's trying to be racist, right? Like she's saying the most disrespectful things on purpose to get people mad. You get what I mean? It's not coming out like genuine. It almost is coming out like she's trying to trigger the internet. You get what I'm saying? A gimmick, right? To bring in more views because of the hatred. It does bring views, even though they're negative views and negative comments. At the end of the day, is generating traffic towards your whatever, your channel, your podcast, whatever, right? So it's now her way of gaining revenue, gaining fame, gaining the spotlight. You get what I'm saying? So now it's actually helping her in a twisted type way, right? So because of the way she's behaving in these videos is almost childish, right? How she's calling them all these names, and saying that they're like, referring to them as like certain animals, and calling them now the N word but with the ER and a lot, right? And pussies, and she's saying all kinds of shit, right? Like she's just going off the chain, right? um and now I'm a firm believer that you have freedom of speech in this world, and that you're entitled to live your life however you choose to want to live it, right? um because in this world we can only worry about ourselves and how we carry ourselves, right? I can't tell people how to live their lives, only they themselves, are entitled to live however they choose, and stuff like that, right? So I feel like people are entitled, if they want to be racist, fuck it, let them be racist, right? If they want to be non-racist, then fuck it, let them, but everyone gets to choose how they want to live their life and gets to say whatever they want. It's freedom of speech. Now, Just because you have freedom of speech, that doesn't mean that, you know, that people, that you're expecting people to just, stand there and take it, right? If they feel offended, if they take action, well, you all should already know that there's repercussions for your, for the shit that you say. You gotta own it, right? So, don't be mad now when they start sucking your ass up and shit like that, right? And people were like, oh, why does it gotta get violence and everything like that? But the thing is that she's trying to disrespect these individuals. It's kind of like, if anybody feels like somebody's trying to disrespect you, and coming at you like that, then you're gonna defend yourself, however means, you feel like, you gotta defend yourself in the situation. You know what I mean? That's why you gotta treat everybody with respect if you want to gain respect. But you can't be disrespectful and then expect people to stay quiet. Just like you have the right to, you call them the N word or call me a beaner or whatever the hell, then don't be mad now when you're getting it back, right? Now, to me, when she's giving her explanation, it's one of the things that I see happening a lot, right? Where it's like, well, white people don't get to say nothing no more. They don't get to defend themselves. They gotta just, stand there and be quiet for some shit that happened, long time ago with the slaves and stuff like that. What does that have to do with them nowadays and shit like that? And that's, yeah, that's true. I feel like, it's not right for people to be calling them crackers and honkies and all of that, because racism doesn't only exist like with whites, right? It exists in every ethnicity. If you feel like your ethnicity is better than this other ethnicity and you want to degrade them just because of the color of their skin or where they come from, right? Then you are a racist, despite of whatever skin color you are. Even blacks, Mexicans, whatever, they can all be racist. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are racist towards whites, because as bad as it is to say the N-word or beaner or wetback, whatever, then it's as bad as saying, cracker and honky and all of that, right? It should be, met with the same also, outrage like this. It doesn't excuse, because of everything that happened long time ago, right? What does that have to do with them? Now, in the same light, you can understand why these people are so defensive. Then, when you have never been in a situation where you've been oppressed, or your people have been you know plotted against and enslaved and everything, right? Because of the color of their skin, right? So you can see why they're skeptical, or why it's hard for them to trust governments and the situations that are happening, because of all the injustice that has happened through the years. You know what I mean? If somebody keeps cheating on you, you know what I mean, you're going to be skeptical about their loyalty. You know what I mean? Because of the history, right? You can understand why this individual has a hard time trusting somebody. If people are always cheating or lying to him, you can see why it makes it hard for this individual to trust people. Same right here, right? You can see why the situation is like that, right? But instead of being understanding, right, people just are so full of themselves. You get what I mean? On both situations, right? On whites and on colors, right? Um, because, like I said, holding these people accountable for their ancestors or whatever is ridiculous in itself as well, right? And not everything is a racial matter, right? But like I said, when you're saying this stuff, they're saying it in a way where they're trying to insult the person, right? So it's not like that has nothing to do with freedom of speech. Like, yeah, you get to say whatever you want, but at the same time, you don't get to just go and be insulting people either. You get what I mean? As an adult, you got to know how to speak. If you can't get your points across without insulting the other side, then you have no point in having conversations then. That's what it means to be an adult, knowing how to talk to individuals. She wants to defend a racist ass, a white woman, because she called a 5-year-old the N-word, and she sees nothing wrong with that. And it's not even so much that she called him the N. This is a child that she's doing this to. Do you not see the situation, right? Do you not see how this is a problem? It's not even so much, it's bad enough that she's using the N-word on them, but the age of the child, right? And she's defending the actions. To the point where you're defending the actions of an adult mistreating a child. It's crazy in itself. But she's not able to see that because of her racism, because she's admitted it. And I don't understand how she could be proudly, talking the way she talks and admitting and behaving the way she behaves. And it could be just to get, attention and stuff like that, right? But either way, the fact that she's using this to get the attention in itself is disturbing, right? It leaves me, out of curiosity. I wonder how her parents are, right? How she was raised, because how does she pick up this type of behavior? Where does she learn to, behave like this, right? And how, like, I don't know. There's got to be some roots to it, right? So I'm curious to see, where that comes from, right? Because it just doesn't manifest out of nothing, right? Um, so that in itself, it's just it's a trip. How she could, she went on, she's been, going on different podcasts and having her discussions, right, and getting grilled for it, right? But then there's people that come to her defense, obviously, other races as well, right? Because it still exists, but like I said, this is just a color. That's all it is. Like, it doesn't make you better. That, your skin color doesn't make you fly. It doesn't give you superpowers. Doesn't make you smarter. Doesn't make you shoot lasers. It's just a different type of shade. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. All our cultures are beautiful. They all have their good people and their bad people. Everybody has something good and unique to bring to the table. To think that your culture or your ethnicity is superior to others is just stupid in itself. No ethnicity is better than no other ethnicity. They all have their goods and bads to them. Now, if you have had bad experiences with certain black individuals, or from what you see or whatever, that doesn't speak in behalf of all black people. You know what I mean? And people, instead of just focusing on their incidents with certain individuals, they try to throw it all on the ethnicity. Just because you had a bad experience with some blacks, they don't speak in behalf of all blacks. You know what I mean? Just because they carry themselves like that doesn't mean that they all carry themselves like that. Same with just because there's some Karens, you see like videos people uploading of Karens, that doesn't mean that all white people are like that. You get what I'm saying? So to think and judge just the whole entire ethnicity based off of some individuals that you had an interaction with is fucking stupid in itself. If you think that they're all just, like she was saying, ghetto and aggressive and violent, you know what I mean? To think that they're all is fucking stupid, though. You get what I mean? And that just goes to show how small-minded people are. Like, they don't speak in behalf of the entire ethnicity. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that there's white people that she doesn't like or she didn't get along with, right? Or she has issues with, right? Why doesn't she go and insult the whole entire ethnicity then, if that's the case? Like, if she has some experience with some blacks, then she now refers to all of them as the N-word. You have some, bad experiences with some white. How come you don't see it the same then? It just doesn't make any sense, right? People always want to blame, ethnicity. It just makes it a whole lot easier. That's how, Hitler got everyone to see his point of view on the Jews, right? Because it's so easier blaming all your problems on another ethnicity for the shit that's happening around. Just because a few bad apples, they want to say that the whole tree is worthless, Like, you wouldn't chop the whole entire tree down just because it produces a few bad apples, right? When you can still get a majority of good apples. Come on now, don't be stupid. But overall, that's just my opinion on the matter. I feel like she's just trying to go viral, and this is just her way of getting attention. But yeah, I do feel like she is a racist, right? And dumb. I think she's just immature. She just needs to grow. She's not as grown as she thinks she is, or intelligent. But overall, that's just my opinions. What do you think? Leave it in the comments. Shout out. We out.